How do they make it hard to attack?
If you're talking about sheer computing power, the Bitcoin mining network as a whole has more computing power than the entire US government, Facebook, China, every big entity you can think of combined, multiplied times 10.
Welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Sat Chats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you're brand new to Bitcoin, we want to chat about sats with you. Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. I'm your host, Stuart Bitcoin Maxi, who wears prescription sunglasses to protect you and your loved ones from my Bitcoin laser eyes.
And I'm your co-host, Chris, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus, proud multi-coiner, Bitcoin smash buyer. Smash the subscribe button just like I smash buy Bitcoin. When we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to open up a live Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time show. If you are part of our initial 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, you're automatically entered to win 1 million sats. Now, today's episode 60. We're here with number 60, Steve, on our march to episode 99. And if you've been paying attention, you know who number 99 is. That's Stuart's wife, Kristen.
That's right.
And we're going to bring her on to see if we can convince her to let Stuart start doing some smashing of his own.
Smash all of it. Yeah.
So
Smash it all.
Yeah.
So we've got Simple Steve in the studio today, keeping it real simple, guys.
Pumped
okay,
for this
it's
one.
not complicated.
No.
It's simple with Simple Steve.
Simple.
Yeah.
So simple.
So we met Steve at the Bitcoin meetup here in Raleigh. It's Tuesday nights, like between 6 and 8 p.m., something along those lines, right? It's every week.
Yep. Every week for like 10 years.
Every week for like 10 years.
Yep.
And you started it with number 33, Jameson, correct?
Yeah, Jameson started it a little bit before I did. I joined shortly after Jameson.
Okay. So he was the one who started it, and you came in real quickly, and because you guys kind of worked shoulder to shoulder on the meetup for a while, right?
Yeah, well, for a little bit. And there was another guy involved too, who's even more OG than Jameson, but he's kind of private. But me and Jameson and the other guy, between the three of us, we kind of managed the whole thing the whole time.
Yeah. And it's at what's the name of the place?
It's called Crafty. And
Crafty.
It's in Raleigh. I'm sure your audience is bigger than Raleigh, but if you're in Raleigh, Crafty in 5 Points.
Yeah. All our Raleigh Satillionaires.
Yeah.
Come on out, man. 5 Points, right? Hayes Barton. It's a great little spot. A lot of great people there.
Yeah.
And our first experience was really nice. We met some real OGs. We met some medium types, and we were brand new types as well. So it was great.
Yes.
And we're going to be going back Tuesday.
Yep.
Yes, we'll be back there.
Cool.
So we met Simple Steve at the meetup because Steve runs the meetup, and he was showing us his UTX Oracle, which is literally mind-blowingly incredible. It is a big fat breakthrough in Bitcoin, and as soon as he explained it to me, I was like, "Holy smokes!" And I got disproportionately amped up. And we got it right here on the screen for everybody who's watching on YouTube. And we're gonna tuck into this little juiciness, but first we're gonna get Steve's Bitcoin story. We know it's going to be a real good one. And before we get that story, help our Satillionaires get to know you just a little bit.
Simple Steve is like half rocket scientist and half like Big Lebowski, the dude. Like, yeah, I'm like an expert in math and physics and computer science, but I also own a bar. I'm in a bowling league, literally in a bowling league, like the Big Lebowski. Love Monster Jam. So kind of more of a right-brained kind of guy, laid back, creative, but super technical as well. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's me, I guess.
Holy
hard
smart.
to put yourself in a nutshell. You know,
It is.
So
the dude.
So that's amazing. The dude, rocket scientist action. I love, what I like about Simple Steve is like he came off immediately as someone who 100% knew a whole lot more about Bitcoin, literally. Yes, I'm over here talking about why it's great money, what I think it's going to do for the future, why I'm stacking it. But like, Simple Steve was like, oh, yeah, I got a note at my house, but it's off. I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, you only really need to turn it on when you're ready to make a transaction. Then it'll update itself to the most recent block and you're ready. I'm like, dude, like, I'm just putting the key in the ignition and driving the car. He understands how the car works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us your Bitcoin story.
Yeah, so I've done this a lot, but I have kind of a new version of my story that I'm telling today. It's a little more personal. So it's 2012, and I'm about to get in the car and drive from Baltimore to Cape Canaveral, Florida. And this car journey really kind of changed my like view of Bitcoin as just being something cool to like something that was going to like change the world. So I'm in Baltimore because I'm in a PhD program at Johns Hopkins. Driving down to Cape Canaveral, Florida, because I used to work at NASA. And this was like 2009-ish. NASA, though my Florida time was like really bad. Like it was a low point in my life. My house that I had bought just out of college dropped like in half. Like literally lost all of my down payment. Was making all this paycheck to the bank every month. Job wasn't going well. Had an engagement that didn't work out. So like 2009 in Florida, I was just like, screw it. I'm starting life over and going to Baltimore. So I'm just one of those people that was deeply affected by the 2008 financial crisis, like life wrecking. Like was in Baltimore, just like a starving artist, PhD student, bartending on the weekends, driving down to Florida a few years later to see some friends I still have down there because we still have some pretty cool parties down there, even though it was a bunch of nerds. But so before I get in the car, a few weeks earlier, I had learned about Bitcoin, heard about Bitcoin. I was like, I need to know everything about this. So I look at all these internet articles. And back then, Bitcoin Magazine, which is today is, you know, the big deal, was just this really small entity just writing some technical articles. And they had one guy that wrote the best articles about Bitcoin. And you'll be very surprised who this guy was. His name was Vitalik Buterin.
Shoot.
So Vitalik Buterin, kind of like before he did Ethereum, was the Andreas Antonopoulos before Andreas.
Really?
He was the truth teller of Bitcoin. He could explain everything better than everybody else could. He was 18 years old. And so he read all these articles for Bitcoin Magazine. And so what I did was I copy pasted everything he'd ever written and everything everybody else had written about Bitcoin into a Word document. And I translated it into an MP3 file.
Holy cow.
With like Alexa voice or whatever Alexa was back then for Mac. And so I listened for 12 hours on that car ride to just basically everything about Bitcoin that was known at the time. And by the time I got to Florida, I was just like, wow, this is going to change everything. And this was the solution to like this nightmare of the 2008 financial system. Like from 2009 to 2012, I was just like, our financial system is so messed up. Like, I don't know how we can fix it. But at the end of that car ride, I was just like, I know for sure how this is getting fixed now. I mean, Bitcoin, it like that experience, it's you, when you get under the hood in Bitcoin, I realized this isn't just like a new form of money. This is a new form of like computation. Like this is a breakthrough in computer science. Like nowhere in the world of computer science had the blockchain difficulty adjustment. Like this stuff did not exist. I mean, it's like this stuff was dropped in here from another planet. I mean, it was like before we had the transistor. And then have you ever read like this mysterious how the transistor appeared in the world?
No.
It was like nothing close to it ever existed. And then like, bam, the transistor appeared.
I don't even know what a transistor is other than the term transistor radio.
Oh, so transistor is like how the ones and zeros work in a computer. Like, so every one and a zero in a computer is stored in a transistor.
Okay.
It's just the basic component of a computer.
Okay. And it just suddenly appeared.
Yeah. Just suddenly appeared in like what 30s or 40s or something. There's some people are like, how did this come about? So Bitcoin's a lot like that. I mean, certain parts of Bitcoin appeared, but the way it was all put together, it was like the Wright brothers just constructed the airplane out of lawnmower parts in a day, and it's just like bam. So yeah, it was. I mean, I remember thinking like, holy crap. I think Bitcoin just solved the copy paste problem of computers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. This is more than just money. Like, Bitcoin solved the copy paste problem. Like, this is going to change everything. So from that moment in 2012, I knew this was going to change the world. And yeah, all in ever since.
Wow. And I love too, by the way, because as soon as you say double spending, especially to a satillionaire who's never stacked their first sats, like, huh?
Yeah.
But a very simple way to talk about that is the copy paste problem, because you can copy paste information all you want online, but not with Bitcoin.
That's how we used to say it, but we've lost that. We've lost that over the years. The copy paste is the best way to explain the double spend problem.
It is. That makes Bitcoin it like immediately. It solves copy paste.
It solves copy paste.
Yeah. So you were in Florida in 2008, 2009, and what you're saying is that the financial crisis, or I guess it was called the Great Recession, basically cut the value of your home in half.
And people don't even like being in the room with me when I talk about this, because everybody owns a house and they're just pretending like that could never happen. So like, they're like, oh, it can't happen here. Okay.
But it happened to you.
Nobody really wants to believe that, but it happened to me. And ever since then, I just don't trust banks. I don't trust, traditional finance at all. People think your money's safer in the bank. My money is so much safer in Bitcoin. I won't leave more than $1,000 in a bank account, because I mean, so much has happened to me, like wire fraud. My wife didn't pay her taxes one year, and the government literally just went into her bank account and just took the money. I think I know there's like a new audience or whatever, and they're like, Bitcoin seems like the scary thing, and your bank or cash seems like the safe thing. The longer I'm in this, that totally reverses. I do not want any dollars at all, because they're just not safe to me. I mean, I'm sure they're safe to a lot of people, but once you realize how secure Bitcoin is, there's just no comparison.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, there's just I feel like I have Bitcoin in a rock, just cold, hard, safe in like the middle of a mountain or something. And like, my dollars are stored in like a paper house,
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, how safe is something that your friendly local nation state can come get when they want it? Like,
exactly.
Yeah. It's about your dollars are about as secure as the value of your home. As long as the system continues to kind of operate, yes, but when you have that shock to the system,
yeah.
So you got to where, I mean, did you get underwater in your home or upside down in your home, where it's like, wait,
so bad.
Okay.
I mean, so my grandfather gave me like $20,000 for a down payment, and so all that went there, and then I was paying like some like $4,000 a month on a mortgage or something. 2 years of doing that, I hadn't paid off anything. I still owed all this, because all your money goes to interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I still owed like, I think $300,000 on the house, and then the house was only worth like $200,000. I think I ended up selling it for like $180,000. Like, I just lost all that money. And I know there's like, some of that is supply and demand of houses, but a lot of that was just manipulation and just terrible financial system. So Bitcoin fixes it, man.
Bitcoin fixes it.
It's going to take a while, but yeah, Bitcoin does fix it. So I'm just in that class of people that basically a reaction to the 2008 crisis, but also, in my favor, I had a lot of training and computers and stuff, and I was ready for it to hit me. I'm always like a curious person. Yeah.
So you went up to Baltimore afterward to start a PhD program, and totally broke, going full rocket science, Big Lebowski the Dude style. PhD studies during the week, bartending on the weekend.
That's right. Yeah.
And the car trip down to see some old buddies was when you spent good, clean, solid time with Bitcoin.
Yeah, just me and Bitcoin for 12 hours. I didn't even make a phone call on that trip. I was just locked in.
Yeah. So it sounds like the copy paste aspect really hit hard for you on that trip.
Yeah.
And the blockchain difficulty adjustment hit hard for you as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's what I think is in back of a lot of people's minds when they're trying to get comfortable with Bitcoin is they're just like, how do I know that nobody can print more of this? How do I know that there's not a man behind the curtain? These are the hard things, at least for me, and I imagine for other people, because you don't have this thought when you think about, and this is a little abstract, but when you think about something like the English language, right? We're not worried about the English language going away because we know for sure there's not one person in control of the English language. We know that for sure. I mean, like,
dude,
new words are invented by a random teenage girl every second. Okay. There's not like an old white man inventing new words, right?
Right.
We're not worried about linguistics. We know there's nobody in control of that. We think with something like Bitcoin, because it's natural, because it's a computer thing, you think there's somebody in control of it. And you think that somebody can change it. And it takes a while to convince yourself that no, like Bitcoin's more like language. There is nobody in control. There's nobody above me in Bitcoin. I mean, there's nobody above many people in Bitcoin. Like there's nobody I look up to. Nobody can change the code of my node. Only I can do that.
So we're all equals in Bitcoin.
There's when you're new, you don't own your own Bitcoin, and you're probably not equal then. But like, it doesn't take long to get to the top level.
So what do you got to do to go from no sats at all, just have not even done it at all, to the top of what Bitcoin has to offer? What steps do you have to go through?
Well, different for everybody for sure. One thing I've learned about running a meetup is that people walk in from lots of corners of the earth. Yeah, there's 4 corners of this room here, but there's like 4 million corners of the earth, and everybody kind of comes to Bitcoin from somewhere different. Making a transaction is a little bit of a shortcut. Find a friend, somebody that you can just make a Bitcoin transaction with $10, just your phone to their phone. In my opinion, that's better than buying some. I mean, yeah, you can buy some, but what are you going to do? You're going to buy some, you're going to look at, that's fine too. But after you buy some, like, try to withdraw it. Try to move Bitcoin on chain, because your ability to understand or to like get the benefits, like the wealth creation from Bitcoin, will depend on how well you kind of understand or just are comfortable with it. Like, because if you're like, hey man, here's $100 of Bitcoin, or buy $100 of Bitcoin, and they don't know anything about it, they're just going to sell at the wrong time. They're not. So yeah, I'd say try to make a transaction. Download a simple wallet, spend $5, experiment with it.
But do you
what's the best way to get started?
Do you need to go like, okay, so maybe you stack your first sats, maybe it is on an exchange, next level, take it into self-custody, figure out a smartphone wallet, and then like eventually it's like you need to run your own node. How do you get to like the top of Bitcoin where it's like, hey, I got my own node, I got my own Bitcoin. Maybe you're not a miner, and maybe you're not like,
miners aren't the top.
Miners aren't the top. Yo, can we hear about that?
Yeah.
Miners they're making the cash money, right?
Miners not the top. I was a miner. So miners are the workers. The way I envision the relationship between like node runners and miners is kind of like, node runners are kind of like the senators. like node runners decide what the rules are. And then once we decide what the rules are, then the miners try to make the blocks to fit the rules. But miners don't have any say over what the rules are. So
can you hear this?
Yeah. So actually, miners are not the ones that are participating in the distributed consensus aspect of Bitcoin. It's the nodes that are updating their copy of the blockchain and running their version of the protocol.
Technically, yes. Miners provide the kind of protection around that consensus thing. So if there weren't miners, Bitcoin would be a lot easier to attack. But Bitcoin could work fine if everybody just mined on their laptop. I mean, that's the way it was in the beginning, right? So the miners are just like, basically Bitcoin is like a full-time hacking contest. Like Bitcoin invites every computer in the world to hack it continuously. And whoever wins every 10 minutes gets a Bitcoin block. You know, so it's like miners are just, they make it very hard to attack, but yeah, miners don't set the rules.
And how do they make it hard to attack?
Because if you're talking about sheer computing power, the Bitcoin mining network as a whole has more computing power than the entire US government, Facebook, China, every big entity you can think of combined, multiplied times 10. Like if you just look at literally transistors flopping per second, like just literally computations per second, like you buy a laptop and you see the gigahertz or whatever, just literally operations per second. Bitcoin is 10 times bigger than every other computer on earth put together. And so it's literally just how many random guesses you can make per second. That's how you solve a Bitcoin block, is just how many random guesses. There's a giant Sudoku puzzle. The only way to solve it is to randomly guess letters.
And is that why you use the term hacking? Because it's kind of like nobody is actually doing something that they understand when they're solving a block. It's not like I'm going to get the correct numbers because I know how to solve this. Yeah. It's a brute force attack, just like you might try to password spray.
Exactly.
So the way that you mine Bitcoin is that you're hacking into I mean, would you call it a math puzzle? Would you call it a Sudoku puzzle? Like, what do you call that?
Yeah, how do you best describe that?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I feel like the phrase math puzzle kind of turns people off. I kind of like the Sudoku or crossword puzzle. So if we go with crossword puzzle, you know, you got the words that you got to fit in. So in Bitcoin, all those words are Bitcoin transactions. So Bitcoin transactions are just constantly floating around like a cloud, like in the cloud, just on nodes and servers. We're passing around all the new transaction info. The miners are trying to take those transactions and put them into this crossword puzzle in the way that they fit. And then after they find a way that they all fit together, there's no double spins. There's all this list of criteria for transactions being legitimate. At the end of that, then they have to come up with a random number that somehow multiplied by that crossword puzzle is a number that has like a decimal with lots of zeros, 10 zeros before it, and then a number. So not only do you have to fit the transactions into the puzzle, but then you also have to come up with a random number.
That and multiplying the random number by the crossword puzzle gets you a very small number because it's 0.000000. It's a really tiny decimal.
Yeah, well, it's a random number. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small, right? So it's because it's random. And
the final number that you're supposed to get is sometimes big or small.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a transaction, the hash of a transaction? I guess we don't have any Bitcoin block, but it'll be like, this is Bitcoin block number 800,000 or whatever. And then it says like the transaction hash of the block is this. Have you ever seen that? So it shows up on most block explorers, but you'll see that number has like 20 zeros. It starts with 20 zeros before it has a number or a letter.
But is it a decimal and then 20 zeros?
No, I just said decimal because when you just say zeros for like a regular number, people are like, oh, zeros in front of a regular number don't matter. Like,
yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. Like, what do you mean?
No, so just think of it as a decimal. I mean,
okay.
Really, it's like
They're placeholders? Are they placeholders?
Like placeholders.
Yeah.
So if I said like pick a random number between 1 and a bazillion,
Yeah.
you know, most of those numbers would fill up randomly. So you have to do this so many times until all the first numbers are zeros.
Yeah. Yeah. Holy smokes. Okay. So I love that concept of nodes as the senators. Now, are you talking about U.S. senators? Or are you talking about Roman Republic senators?
Oh, God.
Right? Because if we're going Roman Republic,
Roman Republic.
Okay, so Roman Republic, you have the nodes are the senators.
Yeah.
The minors would be your equestrians, correct?
I guess. I mean, they're a little more. I don't want to offend the miners out there. They're great. They're workers.
Right. But you have 3 modes in the Roman Republic. You have senators at the top.
Yeah.
Equestrians are horsed people, right? And then you have the plebeians, who are like just regular old dudes. So it's like, are the nodes your senators? The minors are your horse-backed individuals, and then me stacking my sats and just doing little like, whee! I'm just riding over the top of the network like, yay! I ain't doing nothing. I'm a pleb, you know?
You got your big stack of hay on your back. You're carrying it from one location to the next.
Yeah, I'm like, I hope the market's good today.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of like that, but you go straight from the pleb to the top with skipping over the horseback thing.
Yeah.
I think I kind of like, this is maybe related, but in Plato's Republic, there was the philosopher kings, and then there was the mercantile class. And then there was another class or whatever.
Like a peasantry or like a laborer
something
class?
like that. But it's kind of like, I think of the node runners as the philosopher kings.
Snap.
And like the mercantile class is both the miners and like the Wall Street suits and, you know, the business people and stuff like that. You know? And then you have like the starving artists out there who are peasants, but they can become philosopher kings, skipping over the business stuff.
Okay,
that's actually great. That's great because it transfers power away from that class, which arguably needs to happen.
Okay, so the studio needs to run a node, and my own personal home needs to run a node.
Well, which one first?
I'm trying. Me.
I knew you were going to say that.
Me. Yeah, of course, me, dude.
I tell you when it'll happen. Your need to run a node will happen naturally. Something will happen in your life, and you'll be like, wait, I need to make sure this Bitcoin transaction goes through. Or like, I want to look up something on a Bitcoin node without anybody knowing that I'm looking it up. Or like, so a Bitcoin node puts you in control of broadcasting and receiving transactions. So if you're using a phone wallet, that phone wallet has a server somewhere, and that server runs a node. Mm-hmm. So really, when you're using most Bitcoin wallets, you're asking somebody else to broadcast the transaction for you because you have to run a node to broadcast the transaction. At some point in your life, you'll probably be in a situation where you want to broadcast the transaction yourself. And when that happens, you'll need to run a node. Or if you want to do something cool like run UTX Oracle, or like there's a lot of cool apps that you can run now that only run if you have a node. Or so something like that will happen.
Yeah, and number 33 had something that he's developed that collects node metrics off of your node too. Okay. Jameson had made something that I can't remember what it was called, but he talked about having like something that you could add to your node to like get metrics of how it's performing. So there's cool stuff you can do with the node.
Jameson's awesome with that, man.
Yeah.
Jameson tests different node versions like constantly. I feel like he has like 100 different node versions and is always doing evaluations of them.
That dude's the man.
He's super knowledgeable about that stuff. Yeah.
I was like, I think you're in Durham, right? Do you want to come into the studio? He's like, you don't know where I am.
You wouldn't tell me where he's going.
He was like, it'll need to be virtual because you're a little plebeian, Holmes. Okay, so philosopher king, where am I? You don't know where I am. Okay,
I'm everywhere.
Yeah, bro, you might find me at an event, but otherwise, no. And I was like, oh, whoops, I'm sorry. Oh, I feel like an idiot. So when you did your drive down to Florida and it clicked for you, how long until you exchanged some of this fiat currency for Bitcoin?
All of it immediately.
All of it immediately?
Just like me.
All of it immediately?
But all of it is very small. So I told you I was broke in 2009. I lost everything. When I got into that car, I think I had like a wad of like $5, $10 bills of maybe like $300 or $400. Like that's all I had. And after that car ride, I was like, this is all going to Bitcoin. I was just like, I'm just going to bartend more. I'm just going to sell my chair. I'm just going to eat ramen noodles. Like,
oh
yeah.
I'm going all in.
Grinding.
Immediate adoption of a Bitcoin standard is what I'm hearing.
Oh,
just literally converted all your wealth to Bitcoin immediately.
All that $400.
All that $400, which we get it. We get it.
Yeah,
it might be easier to do that.
Yeah.
But it still requires a level of conviction that is dramatically high.
Yeah. And also just the need, or it's just like, I mean, it's partly selfish for sure. Like I want to protect my money and do well in life. But it was also just like, I mean, we need this so bad. Like somebody's got to be on board this thing and it's going to go down with the ship. Like, this has to happen. Like fiat money is so bad. Like you don't realize, I didn't realize it at first. It took me a while to see how bad fiat is. It's like a cancer. You know, it's like your value's getting stolen from you. Like you're happy because like TV prices have gone down, right? Oh yeah, TV prices get cheaper every year. Everything should get cheaper like TV prices do. Like your houses should get cheaper like TV prices do. And everything does get cheaper. It's just masked by how much money printing there is. Houses are cheaper in terms of ounces of gold. The cost of tuition at universities has been going down. Healthcare has been going down. If you're paying for it in real money, house prices aren't going up in terms of ounces of gold. Healthcare isn't going up in terms of ounces of gold. Nothing's going up.
Nothing's going up. And in Bitcoin, it's going down 99%.
That's what I'm saying. There's only one thing that's happening in the world, and that's the dollar debasing is crazy. Everything else is the same. Everything else costs the same.
Yeah.
Like groceries cost the same in terms of ounces of gold today as they did in 1950. Hasn't changed. Only one thing has happened. And then like it takes, that did not happen immediately. That realization is kind of like, you've been lied to your whole life. Sorry.
I mean, I would even further the point that you're making with like in the digital age and the industrial age before it, things get cheaper, more efficient. The free market is deflationary.
It's been like the big mystery, like if technology is so great, industrial revolution, how come everything's still getting more expensive, right?
And then it's like, never mind. I'm just going to scroll through Instagram.
Right.
Forget about it. That's too complicated for me to think about.
You know, both parents are working full time. Everybody's working all the time and still nothing's getting cheaper.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
And it's like Bitcoin, once you get it, it explains all that.
Yeah.
It's like it is getting cheaper, just not in your money.
Yeah, your money's broken. Yeah,
just not in your money.
Just not in your money. It's getting cheaper in every good money in the world.
Yeah,
getting cheaper in like silver. It's getting cheaper in gold. It's getting cheaper in any money that you can't print.
But what do you say to people who are like, well, that's because those are getting more expensive in dollar terms. Like the reason why the gold is the same is because gold's been, you know, it's worth more money now. And we're like, what do you say to that guy who's still, he's stuck in, well, the only real money is the US dollar?
Yeah, that's hard. It's just like, yeah, man, you're right. Healthcare and tables and glasses and gold and stocks and houses and curtains and bricks and 2x4s. And yes, all of these things just happen to increase by the exact same amount independently. Yeah. It wasn't just one thing going down. It was all the perfect storm of everything you can think of in the world, all going up by roughly the exact same amount. Yeah.
And the exact same amount happens to be the percentage increase in money supply.
It just happens to be.
It just, you know, all of this got 7% more expensive. We also printed 7% more money. Not related. Not related.
Yeah, but there are some people that are just, they're not ready to take that step, you know. I mean, when you define your life by the US dollar, I mean, I think about the baby boomers sometime, like their whole life, they thought the US dollar was money and they thought the US dollar was backed by gold. a lot of them, you can't even tell them it's not now.
I know. It's
And
so wild.
like some people you kind of have some patience with and just realize like this person's not ready to have their world shattered.
Yeah.
You know.
So after you smashed the entirety of your wealth into Bitcoin, smashed it off $400, by the way, which is wild because it's like, well, what happens? What happens the next time you need to buy a stick of gum, though? Like, you know what I mean? Like when you converted all your dollars to Bitcoin, you know, what did you do to eat the next meal of the day?
Well, yeah, I just went into some credit card debt, I guess, and just try to pick up a couple more bar shifts. But one point on this that I think is new that I haven't heard. I told you at the meetup. People say like, "Oh, I can't buy stuff with Bitcoin. Can't go to the store and buy stuff with Bitcoin." Guess what? You don't go to the store and buy stuff with dollars either. You go and buy stuff with your credit card. So like no one buys things with Bitcoin, but nobody buys things with cash. Nobody buys things by writing checks. Nobody buys things with their debit card. People buy things with their credit card. And then at the end of the month, they use a form of money to pay off their credit card. So I like this can happen with Bitcoin. So just you put your stuff on your credit card, your daily purchases, and at the end of the month, maybe you need to sell some Bitcoin to pay that credit card bill. Maybe you got some dirty fiat laying around that you could pay that credit card bill with. But this is not a popular point in Bitcoin, but I think that is going to be the next kind of era. It's not going to be people buy their coffee with Bitcoin, even on Lightning. Sorry, Lightning guys. Like maybe it'll get there eventually, but Lightning has to outcompete credit cards.
Oof.
And that's a lot harder than outcompeting debit cards. Outcompeting debit cards might be possible, but with credit cards, 30-day free interest-free loan, no PIN number. That's hard to compete with. So I kind of think we're going to see people selling Bitcoin monthly to pay off their credit card. Mm-hmm. That to me is a medium of exchange. Mm-hmm. I mean, all coffee transactions can't go on the Bitcoin blockchain. They just can't. There's just too many of them. Maybe layer 2 Lightning will come around and get better. But even if it does get better, what does Lightning do? Every once in a while, you have to settle your Lightning balance with your on-chain Bitcoin balance. Very similar to a credit card, right? You're just moving some temporary credit off the settlement layer, and then once in a while you have to go back to the settlement layer. So I think the everyday transactions are probably going to still be Visa for a while.
I want to hear just a little bit about, we kind of heard a little bit about what it was like before Bitcoin and that moment where you took that car ride. So after you smashed into it, what is it like now that you have been with Bitcoin for 13 years now? What is it like now for Simple Steve?
Life's a lot better for me now. Like, I'm in like a good place now. I can't, obviously the Bitcoin price in US dollars rising has been a big part of that. And a lot of that's just fortunate. But I just feel more secure, like philosophically, just knowing that there's a stable truth there. Like there's a foundation to money in the world. Like there was no foundation to money while we were on it. There was a foundation when we were on a gold standard. Mm-hmm. Then from 1970 to 2009, there was no foundation, but now there's a foundation again. And I think I just feel just a lot more confident. Like I feel like I just know a secret that other people don't know. I don't let news affect me. Like I don't really let the Bitcoin price affect me, because I know as long as, the transactions are still flowing, as long as the network's healthy, anyone who thinks the price should go higher or lower just doesn't really understand that like this thing isn't going away. So it's like, if something breaks in Bitcoin and then the price goes down, that makes sense. But if nothing breaks in Bitcoin and the price goes down, what's going on? Like, somebody doesn't understand. This thing's still taking over. So it's just, I just feel much more secure. Yeah. I mean, you don't realize when you're working day to day, trying to keep your money in a bank account, wondering what your taxes are going to be, wondering what inflation's going to be like, wondering, the value of your house. Like, when you're constantly thinking about this, stocks, all that, it just consumes you. Like, Bitcoin just allows you to just simplify. I mean, how much Bitcoin do I have? That's all I care about.
Right. That's it.
Yeah. It's just like
one number.
Like, yeah. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. And also, that's the way it should be. Like, back when people could save in gold and that savings would like last for a long time and they didn't have to constantly invest in order to protect their savings, they could take a year off work, and like spend some time with the kids, or like think about building this new idea they had, or like, had all these artists and all these painters and sculptors and stuff. And it was just like, how'd you take that much time off work? It's because like they had savings in gold, so I mean, Bitcoin makes it so like, you probably think you can never quit your job. But if you have savings in Bitcoin, you'll think like, yeah, I could probably quit my job for a little bit. I'd survive. Maybe this is like a fortunate thing, and just because I'm in this position I am now. But I think you start to get that feeling of security even when you first start getting in. Not in terms of the price volatility, but just if you really kind of can convince yourself why there's nobody behind the curtain in Bitcoin, why this is as decentralized as advertised. I can promise you that Bitcoin is as decentralized as advertised. There is nobody that can change the code on my software. I do not update my computer ever. There is no possible way anybody can change the code on my computer unless you beat me over the head with a club and like force my computer to change. No one's changing my Bitcoin node. And then there's a million people like me.
Simple Steve, philosopher king, can't change his throne.
Can't
This
change
the throne I sit on, homie.
That's right.
So tell me, exactly, UTX Oracle, hit me with this right over here. What do we have going on over here?
We're gonna switch gears here.
Yeah, because I feel like Simple Steve's story is simple. Yeah. Got wrecked, found Bitcoin, life better,
life changing.
Boom.
Yeah,
and that's what we want our Satillionaires to understand. Just start. Just do it.
Yeah, you got to dip your toe in the water.
But what we have here is a brand new thing. An absolutely massive breakthrough. What are we looking at?
Right. So, we're kind of switching gears here to a new product, or a new open source code that I made. This what we're looking at here is the Bitcoin price, but it's not the Bitcoin price how you're used to seeing it. You might think it is. You might think this chart looks like just, okay, it's not somewhere between 92 and 93 right now. And this looks like a chart you might see on exchanges or something. But what is all this noise up here? Or, is somebody actually paying this amount? Like, no. So what I've done is expose the Bitcoin price in a way that it's never been exposed before, which is it's Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is baked into every on-chain Bitcoin transaction in a really strange way. So, a simple way to think about this is, imagine if on Bitcoin itself, you were only allowed to send $100 worth of Bitcoin. I mean, it's not that way. You can send however much Bitcoin you want, of course. But imagine there was a rule that you could only send $100. Well, what would everybody do? They would have to figure out by themselves how much Bitcoin is equal to $100. And then they'd send that. And then if you were looking at the blockchain, you would be like, oh, I guess people think $100 is this much Bitcoin, and now $100 is this much Bitcoin. So you would see what the world on average thought was the price of Bitcoin. And that's essentially what this is doing. People don't send exactly $100, but this is how commonly people send exactly $100 compared to $102.
Yeah.
$104 and $105. So if you just, and I'm not just looking at $100, I'm looking at all round amounts of Bitcoin. So if you think about $20, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, you look at all of these things, and then you look at all of the things like slightly above and slightly below, and you lay them all on top of each other. This is the percentage with which people send round amounts of US dollars versus the percentage that they don't. And because you know how much dollars and how much Bitcoin, you know the price they used.
So it's like, you know, for the people that are on Spotify right now and aren't watching this on YouTube, number one, go to YouTube and look at this. Yeah. Number two, smash the subscribe while you're there so you can get that 1 million freaking sats.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
So the UTX Oracle, and smash the subscribe on Simple C, because this is
always live.
This is live on
always
YouTube.
Live. Yeah.
Right. So if you search UTX Oracle, all one word, on YouTube, this live feed comes up, and there's a blue, like 75% of this rectangle from the left-hand side moving rightward is blue. And there's almost like a bright blue line. It looks like stippling in your like high school.
Stippling?
Remember like high school chemistry where you would like, you know what I'm talking about?
Heard that word
stippling
since high school.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like stippling. And you have
Stipple
like
Steve.
Stipple Steve. Dude, Stipple Steve. So there's like a bright blue line, and it makes me feel like I'm looking at the matrix of Bitcoin.
Yeah. And
then the right side, like 25% of this rectangle on the right side is orange, like a Bitcoin orange, and there's like orange circles that are floating in from the right hand side that look like live active transactions that are jumping into the mempool. They're waiting to be turned into Bitcoin. And they're also like getting smaller and settling into a bright orange line that's becoming the bright blue line. And like for me, you know, we put the Clark Moody dashboard up. It's a lot of numbers. Things flip green, they flip red, and it's like, wow, things are really active. They're moving, and there's all these aspects of Bitcoin that are cool. Mm-hmm. What I like about UTX Oracle is it kind of really reinforces this concept of transactions hanging out in like a lobby for a little while and then settling down into permanent record. It's locked into stone. We're good to go. And it just makes Bitcoin feel more alive to look at it through UTX Oracle for me visually.
Oh, thanks.
And what you've done is you've done some deducting here where you're like, well, $100 divided by the amount of Bitcoin means the average on-chain price for the past 3 hours is 92,653 dirty old slips of nation state paper. But then the mempool, because we don't get this on the Clark Moody dashboard, we just get the price of Bitcoin, and it only shifts by $10 at a time, by the way. It'll be 92,350, then it'll update 92,360, 92,340, because they're just kind of averaging, right?
I kind of like that.
This is giving me legitimate down to the dadgum dollar here, 92653. But then why is the mempool a different number than the on-chain?
Well, Clark Moody's dashboard is probably going to be similar to the mempool number. So the mempool is, you know, the price of really recent transactions. These are transactions in the last 10 minutes or something. So you can kind of think of the mempool price as the price of the last 10 minutes. They're not confirmed, though. It'll take a while before all the transactions that are flowing in here live get confirmed into a block. To connect it to what we were talking about earlier with the miners and stuff, right? So the miners are putting all of these transactions into their crossword puzzle. And as soon as they do it and guess the right random number, then that becomes a blue line and it's confirmed. So the price here is just for the past like 3 hours or so of confirmed data. But the way I'm doing this, and to get a little, I don't know, the philosophical again, UTX Oracle has the property Bitcoin has, where as it gets longer, it gets more firm.
Mm-hmm.
So the price of UTX Oracle, like the confidence in it, is a function of averaging time. But still, as you can see, even the most recent stuff is like pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, yesterday there was like a several $1,000 difference between the on-chain and the mempool. And I thought that meant, oh, it looks like people are, bidding this exchange rate up. Like it's 92 on-chain and it's 95 in the mempool. So that must mean that they are pushing the exchange rate up. But you're saying it's actually more just a function of noise getting consolidated and settling down before, the difference between the on-chain and mempool price aren't going to be great in a snapshot like this. It's more like over time, it'll move up and down.
Right. It's a little bit of both of those. I mean, there really might be noise in the mempool, but there really might be somebody who's making peer-to-peer transactions for Bitcoin. Like if at the meetup, I bring $100 bill and I'm like, which one of you Bitcoiners has got $100 you can give me right now? And that trade happens at the meetup. That price point is not going to be reflected in any exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do have people that are trading off the exchange, whatever price they're using, maybe they negotiated something, whatever, that price information is only going to be in UTX Oracle. So there is a little bit of new price information that you're getting here. But I would say most of it is probably downstream of an exchange price. So
yeah, this felt like the most pure way to derive
is the most
price.
pure for sure.
It's the most pure for sure.
Yeah.
We need along the top, we need UTX Oracle Live. The most pure for sure.
For sure.
Most pure for sure. So it's like
simple, the most simple.
Exactly. So it's like, because I remember you talked about how this doesn't do any like paper Bitcoin between exchanges. This doesn't do any old like all that noise. This is just literally which transactions are happening on chain, and how do I find the round dollar amounts and do the math to derive, where it's like you filtered out and cleaned up, and you're allowing Bitcoin to tell you what the price of Bitcoin is. You're not going through an API to an exchange who's saying, well, back behind closed doors in an area you can't see, we're telling you the price is this much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like you explain it better than I do.
Stuart's a wordsmith.
But that is an important thing. So when people buy coins on exchanges and they just leave them there, and then the CEO of the exchange fakes his own death and moves to India, and it turns out the exchange didn't have any Bitcoin
I've seen that movie.
The whole time. Y'all seen that movie? So when that happens and you look backwards and you paid a price for your Bitcoin, what was that the price of? The person you bought from didn't have any Bitcoin. Why is that Bitcoin price going in the record of Bitcoin prices? That wasn't a purchase of Bitcoin. So the only way you know if you actually purchase Bitcoin is if you actually got the word exchange means exchange. So like if there was no Bitcoin transaction for the purchase, it wasn't an exchange. So this shows you all actual exchanges where the Bitcoin actually went through. So it's definitely kind of a check on paper trading prices in a way. It's more pure price. I'm still working on.
This is the truth, man.
I just kind of started explaining this a couple weeks ago, so I'm still working on explaining it.
Yeah, for me, this is the Bitcoin of determining Bitcoin's price.
It is.
It's decentralized. It's public. You can verify it. It's rock solid. I mean, I think this is so huge because it takes power from a potentially centralizing force and decentralizes it all over again.
Yeah.
Where you are smashing through the gatekeepers of Bitcoin's exchange rate by saying, I truly don't care what you report to me because I'm going to go look for my own self.
Right.
Right.
And that's you were talking about before. Like, when are you going to want to run your own node? Here's another thing. Like, if you get to the point where you don't trust prices that you're seeing online,
yeah,
there's another reason to run your own node. I want to see the price in my own node.
Yeah, I feel like I could look at this and like when I go to buy my weekly Bitcoin, I go to my exchange and I'm like, yeah, right. I know you have your 1% spread on top of Bitcoin, but that ain't Bitcoin's price. This is Bitcoin's price.
Yeah.
And I can protect myself from getting hoodwinked because I can now know what the price is.
You know what people around the world are paying for Bitcoin for sure.
Yeah.
Because you got those transactions yourself.
So there's way more.
So, and this is all of people are just seeing this on YouTube, by the way. YouTube is the nice, like, pretty display that I've made. There is like a more boring open source code that exists right now on UTXO.pro that people can download if you know how to run Python, know how to connect to your node. Just hit enter. It'll do the analysis and it'll give you the exact same price that you see here.
Well, there's more to Bitcoin than we'll ever be able to fit into one chat about sats. So we do ask each of our guests if they'd be willing to come back on in 9 months to give us an update on their Bitcoin baby.
9 months.
9 months.
Yeah.
Would you be down to do that?
I don't know. It's such a far drive. It took me like a whole 10 minutes to get here.
Oh, man.
Took you the length of a block to get here, man.
Block is at a completely different height when I got here.
Oh man, I can't wait till we're like only using the block height to talk about time. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, dude. So our baby was born. Block height. 900,000, 172. Like, you're done with like April 25. Yeah. You're like only given the block height, and like, dude, it takes me 10 blocks to get there. That's amazing, dude.
Dude, it is mind blowing. Bitcoin doesn't really care about Earth time.
It doesn't. It
is so weird. Like, when you look in the Bitcoin code, it's just like, what block are we on?
Yeah.
It does not care what time it is at all. It's like, how does you write a computer program that's a global financial system that does not care what time it is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Oh, and when I hear, in my podcast and say, oh, Bitcoin closed at this price, I'm like, what are you talking about? Bitcoin closed at this price a day? What time did it close? Huh? Stop. You know what I mean? So yes. All right. We'll have you back on in 9. We'll talk more about UTX Oracle at that time, because I know it's going to be even juicier. The visuals are going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, Chris is just going to drop his smash buyer ship on top of yours and vacuum you up, and it's going to be amazing. And we're gonna do a bit. It's going to be sat chats. UTX Oracle.
You know what the most exciting thing is? Like Raleigh. Raleigh is hot.
Yeah.
From a Bitcoin perspective, we got Simple Steve. We got so many people here.
Yes.
There's a lot of OGs from Raleigh.
I feel like Raleigh could become.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want that or not, but like, there's just a lot of great Bitcoin people here.
I'm experiencing
for that.
Yeah.
We're already it. It's just invisible.
Yeah.
Raleigh's been running things in Bitcoin for the whole time.
Yeah, dude.
The rest of the world just doesn't know it yet.
Raleigh has just been keeping it chill. Yeah, okay. Raleigh is the rocket scientist Big Lebowski of Bitcoin.
That's
okay.
right.
We're just chilling.
No ego.
No
ego, just pure self-esteem.
I want people to know through the show that Raleigh is legit for Bitcoin.
Yes.
Like, we're not messing around, dude.
It's
I
a good
love
place
that.
to be, yeah.
So let's recap the chat about sats here with Simple Steve today.
Love this part. So
Simple Steve shared a personal version of his Bitcoin story today, which we really enjoyed. Florida, 2008, 2009 financial crisis, Great Recession. The $20,000 his granddad gave him to get himself started,
wiped away.
House,
yeah.
Engagement to a lady friend,
broke up. Yeah,
absolutely. Your life was just smashed by that whole scenario, and you had to dump out of the state entirely. That's how bad it was. It's like, I can't even be up in here anymore.
No,
let me go get a PhD in Baltimore. Right, bartending up there. Starving, we would say artist, but it was more like starving student, starving, doctoral candidate.
Scientist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And your background was like in physics and math and computers and some heavy heavy numbers oriented stuff.
Heavy numbers.
You were going to take a trip back down to Florida to see the guys. 12-hour trip. You took all of the written works of Vitalik and others, converted it into an MP3. This is full 2012 mode.
That was hot.
Converting it into an MP3, dude.
Yeah.
And you popped it into your car, right? So across the and let's do this right now here. There's 6 times 12. So it took you 72 blocks to get Bitcoin.
72 blocks.
Right? 12 hours.
6 blocks per hour. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right? So it only took Simple Steve 72 blocks.
72 blocks. That's it.
72 blocks. He started the timer. 72 blocks later, he's down in Florida. He's like,
Click
Bitcoin. Block. He took a wad of 5 and 10s in his pocket. Was like, this stuff's stupid. Goes and gets his Bitcoin with it. Starts ripping the credit card while he learns more about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And ultimately, and this is something that I think we could go into more detail when you come back on in 9 months, gets to a place where your life is excellent. I believe you mentioned you have a wife, right? So you found a lady.
Yeah, got that to work out.
You got yourself a place to stay. You're more secure, right? I mean, think about how you felt after your house cut in half. Engagement gone. I mean, you're just floating in outer space, not tethered, not secure, nothing. But Bitcoin is security.
Bitcoin's the anchor, man.
Bitcoin is the anchor.
It's the anchor, dude.
And you are as a node runner, this philosopher king who is helping Bitcoin maintain a system of rules that the rest of us, miners or plebs, have to abide by, right? And we talked about all sorts of really cool things. I think the copy paste, reframing that double spend as copy paste, like literally makes it accessible for beginners immediately. We talked about how nodes fit into the fold with miners and with users. And we also talked about this UTX Oracle, which is literally just an absolute breakthrough. It's a mind-blowing breakthrough because that is the actual freaking exchange rate for Bitcoin. Nobody's telling you that. Bitcoin is telling you that, which is incredible. And also the Raleigh meetup. Can't forget that. The Raleigh meetup is Tuesdays from 6 to 8 p.m., right? At Crafty, 5 Points, Hayes Barton. It's a lot of fun. So where can people go online if they want to learn more about you and UTX Oracle?
I'm Simple Steve on Twitter, and UTXO.pro it sounds like a website that's going to charge you money, but it doesn't. It used to, it just goes to my open source page and it shows you this live viewer in real time, but there you'll see explanation videos of me talking about how it works, the open source code, the price history, the accuracy history, all the information about this at UTXO.pro.
So freaking elite. Oh my gosh. All right. So we're going to make you an offer here in exchange for your time.
Sweet.
But we don't want you to make that choice on an empty stomach, right? Because it's a very important choice.
Yes.
We're going to rip some calories here in the form of our founding sponsor.
Love it.
Ithaca Hummus. So today you chose the most recent flavor, right? Just like UTX Oracle is new, this flavor is new. It's the collaboration between Ithaca Hummus and Graza.
Yes.
Olive oil and sea salt.
And it is excellent, I must say.
Have you ever heard of Ithaca Hummus?
I have not. I imagine it's a New York thing.
Yep, upstate New York. Yeah.
I have not heard of Ithaca Hummus, but this looks great.
Yeah. So let's all grab a fat glob here, and we'll crunch it into the mic together, okay?
Okay.
Here we go.
Are we doing it? All right.
It's wonderful.
It's just good olive oil flavor without being too much olive oil flavor.
It is a nice olive oil. I thought I tasted like a hint of garlic at the end.
There's a little garlic in there.
Yeah.
Yep. A little garlic.
That's delicious.
Yeah. What do you think about that hummus compared to some other ones you've tried?
Much better.
Yeah.
So which grocery stores do you get your food from here in Raleigh?
I live across the street from a grocery store, which is a great life hack. So it's the Harris Teeter.
Now, can he get Ithaca at the Teat?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So let's make Simple Steve his offer here today. And we're going to use the UTX Oracle.
I might need some help with that.
We can help you.
Okay.
We can help you.
In exchange for your time today, Steve, we got this glass encased $50 bill that we'd like to offer you as a gift, or you could choose $50 worth of Bitcoin.
No, I'm taking the Bitcoin for sure.
Okay, so
Pre-Bitcoin take.
Yes.
Let's see how much Bitcoin he's going to take.
So help me calculate this.
Oh, you
off
didn't
of
tell me how much it
UTXO.
was?
No.
We'll
So
tell you.
look. So
Okay.
look. So let's
All right.
let's see if I can do this
Oh,
using
yeah,
your
do it.
tool, because 92,686 is the exchange rate for one Bitcoin
Mhm.
according to UTX Oracle. We're going to give you $50 worth. So what share of 50 is 92,686? So divide 50 by 92,686.
Yeah, it's a big
Okay.
old decimal. So it's 53,000.
Yeah, so we're going to go to 8. We're going to go to 8, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So 53945. 53945. So 53,945 sats, or 50 schmilks.
I'm going with the sats for sure.
Let's go.
Is that right?
There we
Yeah.
go. Yes. High five. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Well
The
done.
stacks the
Well done.
sats.
Well done.
Yes. Keeping it
Show
simple.
us the way.
Keeping it simple, stacking the sats, right? So, Simple Steve, you are number 60, okay?
60.
Your old pal, Jameson, is number 33.
Sweet.
So those are your numbers, and they will be forever, right?
Perfect.
Now, you're going to bring our score to 55 guests who have stacked the sats and 5 who need a little bit more time. And when they come back on in 9 months, we'll keep working.
Oh, those are the people that.
Right. This is the scoreboard for the show right here. Okay.
Nice.
And we're trying to get to 100. We're trying to get to triple digits here before this goes to double digits. Okay. And we're kind of neck and neck right now. It's stressing me out a little bit, but I have faith.
Yeah.
I believe that
We're on the right trajectory right now.
Yeah. So, thank you for keeping our streak alive here.
Yeah.
Simple
no
Steve
problem.
is online on Twitter, Simple Steve at Simple Steve, right? UTXO.pro. You can
Love
also
this.
rip YouTube and just type UTX Oracle like I did to get right there.
Yep.
The Raleigh meetups Tuesday, 6 to 8 p.m. We love that at Crafty, 5 Points, Hayes Barton. And this is the part of the show where we are going to ask you, Satillionaires, for your value in exchange for ours. What do we value? YouTube subscriptions. We
Yeah, we
really
do.
want them subscripts.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do. Yeah.
And the proof of work is the smallest amount possible. You just tap or click.
Yeah.
It's so easy, dude.
Yeah.
You don't want to be subscriber number 1001 because then you don't get your chance at 1 million sats. I mean, we're talking about 20x what Simple Steve just stacked on the show right here. It ain't bad. Okay.
Mhm.
So help us get to 999 plus 1 million sats giveaway. It'll unlock a live show Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Simple Steve might even take the length of one block to come on over here Friday mornings and come rip live.
Oh,
UTX Oracle's live.
sick.
Simple Steve is live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
His dashboard is live. He is live. Friday mornings, you could ask Simple Steve anything you want in the chat. That would be nuts.
So good.
That would be out of control.
Yeah, it would.
And you're also going to help us on the road to number 99. My wife, Kristen. Plus, each time you do, a brand new Bitcoiner gets his laser eyes, and we need more Bitcoiners to get their laser eyes around here. So smash that subscribe button. 5 stars on Spotify as well. If you want to support our show directly, there's 3 ways. Number 1, zap us your sats on the Lightning Network, satchats@getalby.com. Sign up to come on the show. Satchats.com is one button. It's easy.
Easy as it gets.
Or you can send us your on-chain Bitcoin directly. The address is in the show notes. So thanks so much for your time, Satillionaires. We will see you on the next one. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.